There's a law that existed long before money, long before kingdoms rose or fell, and even before the stars lit up the night sky. This law is invisible, unchanging, and eternal. And whether you know it or not, it has been shaping every success story in human history. It's not a secret code or some hidden formula. It's simple, yet profound, the law of cause and effect. Think about it. Every seed you plant produces something. You plant an apple seed, you get apples. You plant corn, you get corn. But what happens when you plant fear, doubt, or laziness? You harvest a life full of struggle, confusion, and missed opportunities. This same law builds empires and buries dreams. It doesn't care about your name, your background, or where you started. It responds only to what you do, not what you hope for, not what you talk about, but what you actually do. Let me tell you a story. A young man once told his mentor, "I just want to be rich." The mentor smiled and said, "Good. Then every day, act like the kind of person who becomes rich." The young man didn't understand it at first. But over time, he realized that wealth doesn't begin in the bank, it begins in behavior. You become the cause that creates the effect. You show up early when others sleep in. You read when others scroll. You invest when others spend. You keep promises to yourself. And one day, when success comes, people call you lucky. But it wasn't luck, it was the law quietly working in your favor. The universe is like a mirror, it reflects exactly what you give it. Give it effort, consistency, gratitude, and it multiplies those things back to you. Give it excuses, laziness, negativity, and it magnifies that too. The law doesn't take sides, it simply responds to what you send out. It's like electricity, it can light up your home or burn it down. The power itself isn't good or bad, it just is. So ask yourself, what are you sending out every single day? Millionaires don't just have money, they have habits that obey this law. They plant discipline when others plant excuses. They plant focus when others plant distraction. They plant courage when others plant comfort. And the universe, in its perfect timing, returns abundance to them. So stop saying, "I'll be successful when I get lucky," or "I'm waiting for my big break." Start planting. Start acting like the person who deserves the result, before the result shows up. Because this law doesn't wait for you to believe in it. It's already working, right now, for or against you. Every thought you think, every word you speak, every action you take is a seed. The only question is, what are you planting today? If you plant faith, you'll harvest strength. If you plant service, you'll harvest opportunity. If you plant persistence, you'll harvest success. You don't need to chase blessings, you simply need to create the causes that attract them. Remember this, the stars themselves obey this law. The oceans, the trees, the galaxies, all follow it perfectly. It's older than the stars, older than time, and it's still the same law that turns dreamers into doers and doers into millionaires. You don't need to beg the universe for success. You just have to align with its law. Plant better seeds. Keep your faith steady. Keep moving forward. And the law, as old as creation itself, will move mountains for you. Here are some key points related to this. The law of cause and effect governs success. What you give determines what you get. Every action, thought, and habit is a seed that shapes your future. Success isn't random, it's the natural result of consistent, intentional effort. The universe mirrors your energy, what you put out comes back amplified. Millionaires focus on causes, discipline, focus, and courage, not just outcomes. You already live under this law. The choice is whether it works for you or against you. Everything in life, from the smallest grain of sand to the grandest galaxy, obeys the same ancient principle: what you give determines what you get. The law of cause and effect isn't just a theory, it's the unseen current that moves through everything we do. Picture a farmer standing in a vast empty field, holding seeds in his hand. He can stare at the soil, pray for a harvest, and dream about abundance, but until he plants those seeds and tends to them, the field will stay silent. Life works the same way. Our actions, thoughts, and even our words are seeds. Every one of them goes into the soil of reality, and sooner or later, we harvest what we've planted. Most people don't realize this. They complain about their circumstances as if life chose them randomly. They say, "Why do bad things always happen to me?" or "Why can't I ever catch a break?" But the truth is, life doesn't hand out blessings or burdens by accident. It responds like an echo. What you shout into it, whether faith or fear, effort or excuses, always returns. Jim Rohn once said, "You don't get what you want, you get what you become." That's the essence of this law. You can't demand success if you're planting habits of procrastination. You can't expect peace when you constantly sow chaos through negativity or gossip. The law doesn't play favorites, it simply reflects. Imagine two people starting at the same point. One wakes up every day determined to improve, reading, learning, staying consistent even when results are invisible. The other wakes up complaining, scrolling through social media, waiting for motivation to strike. Months later, one has grown, the other hasn't. To outsiders, it looks like luck. But beneath the surface, the law was quietly at work, rewarding the one who planted the right causes. Just like gravity, it never stops functioning. You don't have to see it to know it's there. I remember hearing about a man who worked as a janitor for years in a small office building. Every night, he cleaned floors and emptied trash cans. But instead of feeling bitter, he used every break to read business books left behind on desks. He studied quietly, learned principles, and practiced gratitude. One day, when the company downsized, that same man started his own small cleaning business. Within 5 years, he had a team of 50 employees and contracts with the same companies he once cleaned for. What changed? The cause. His actions were seeds, planted daily in faith, watered by consistency, and the harvest came right on time. This law isn't mystical, it's mechanical. It doesn't respond to wishes but to work. You can't plant thorns and expect roses. You can't sow laziness and expect success. It's not punishment, it's fairness. The universe keeps perfect balance. Every cause produces an effect that matches it in quality and energy. The key is awareness. Once you understand that everything you do matters, every choice, every thought, you begin to live differently. You stop waiting for luck and start creating it. Because the moment you take responsibility for the causes you create, life begins to align with you. The invisible law that built the stars begins to move through your actions, shaping your destiny in silence, making sure that whatever you plant today becomes the life you live tomorrow. Every action, thought, and habit you form is a seed quietly shaping your future, whether you're aware of it or not. Life is not built in one grand decision, it's sculpted in thousands of small, unseen moments, the times you choose to try again, to stay disciplined, to think differently when it would be easier to quit. Imagine a painter standing before a blank canvas. At first, each stroke seems meaningless, random, without form or purpose. But with time, layer after layer, the image begins to emerge. That's exactly how your habits work, they're the brushstrokes of your destiny. Think about how nature operates. The seed of a mighty oak tree looks tiny, insignificant, almost powerless. But hidden inside it is a pattern of greatness, and given time, it becomes a living monument. Our thoughts and actions are no different. You can't see their full potential when you plant them, but every single one contains the blueprint of what's coming next. When you think with faith instead of fear, you water that seed with energy. When you act with persistence instead of hesitation, you give it sunlight. Over time, what once seemed invisible begins to grow roots beneath your life. People often underestimate how powerful repetition is. They think success is about one big breakthrough, one moment of luck, one perfect chance. But life rewards consistency more than intensity. It's not what you do once that defines you, it's what you do every day. As Aristotle said, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act but a habit. The successful person isn't luckier, they've just been planting better seeds for longer. They've been showing up when others stopped, speaking gratitude when others complained, believing in growth when others settled for comfort. There's a story about a man who wanted to get in shape. For months, he went to the gym but saw no change. Frustrated, he nearly gave up, until one day, someone told him, "You're not just building muscle, you're building consistency." That stuck with him. He kept going, not for results, but for discipline. Eventually, the results came, not only in his body but in every area of his life. He became more focused at work, calmer in challenges, and confident in himself. The habit of consistency had reshaped him from the inside out. The seed of persistence he planted grew into transformation. It's the same law working in every direction. If you plant distraction, you harvest regret. If you plant self-doubt, you harvest hesitation. But if you plant courage, even in small doses, it begins to grow like a wild vine, overtaking your fears one day at a time. Life doesn't forget the seeds you plant. It remembers, stores, and multiplies them in its own timing. The universe is patient, it watches what you do when no one is clapping, when progress is invisible, when it feels like nothing's changing. Those are the moments when your future is quietly taking shape, when unseen roots are pushing deeper into the soil of persistence. Every habit becomes a prayer, every thought a design, every choice a vote for the person you're becoming. You might not see the harvest right away, but it's coming. Just like the farmer trusts the earth, you must trust the process. Every seed counts, the good ones and the bad ones. And someday, when you look back, you'll realize your entire life was built on the quiet power of what you planted in the moments that seemed to matter least. Success isn't random. It's never an accident. It's the result of small, intentional actions repeated long enough to create momentum that can't be stopped. People often look at someone who's achieved greatness and say, they're lucky, without realizing that what they're calling luck is simply the visible part of a long, invisible process. Every success story begins in silence, in the early mornings when no one's watching, in the quiet hours of doubt when most people would give up. The truth is, success is predictable because it follows laws as certain as gravity. When you align with those laws, discipline, focus, perseverance, life eventually has to give you what you've earned. Think of a sculptor working on a block of marble. To the untrained eye, it's just stone. But the sculptor already sees what's hidden inside. Each strike of the hammer seems repetitive, even boring, yet every swing has purpose. Over time, shape emerges, detail sharpens, beauty reveals itself. That's how intentional effort works. At first, it's dull, routine, uninspiring. But day after day, your actions carve away everything unnecessary until your potential stands in full view. Success isn't born in applause, it's born in repetition. There's a story about a man who wanted to build a business but failed multiple times. He sold products no one wanted, made calls no one answered, and heard no so often it echoed in his dreams. Most people would have quit. But he kept refining, learning, adjusting, never blaming the world, always examining his effort. Years later, his business became one of the most recognized in his field. When asked what changed, he smiled and said, "Nothing changed, except that I stopped waiting for easy results." His success wasn't random, it was the inevitable effect of consistent causes. Thomas Edison once said, "Opportunity is missed by most people because it is dressed in overalls and looks like work." And that's the secret most people don't want to hear. Real success rarely looks glamorous while it's happening. It looks like long hours, failed attempts, silent perseverance, and faith that refuses to die. But that's what separates those who dream from those who achieve. Every result you admire in someone else is simply the effect of choices you didn't see. Life rewards those who act with intention. The athlete who trains before dawn doesn't wait for motivation, he creates it. The writer who writes daily, even through doubt, builds mastery word by word. The student who studies when others relax develops a future others can't imagine. None of them are lucky. They're consistent. And consistency, over time, always looks like destiny. There's a quiet comfort in understanding that success isn't out of your control. It doesn't require connections, wealth, or perfect timing. It requires alignment, small, deliberate actions repeated faithfully. Like planting seeds in good soil, you don't dig them up every day to check if they're growing, you trust the process. And one day, without warning, the plant breaks through the soil. That's how success arrives, not suddenly, but inevitably. It's not magic. It's math. It's the universe keeping its promise. Every cause has an effect, and if your causes are consistent, your success is certain. The universe is a perfect mirror, reflecting back exactly what you give it. It listens more to your energy than your words, more to your habits than your hopes. What you send out, in thought, emotion, and action, always finds its way back to you. Sometimes not immediately, sometimes not in the way you expect, but always in perfect measure. Life has no favorites. It doesn't punish or reward, it simply reflects. You can't shout anger into the world and expect peace to return. You can't give inconsistency and expect stability. But when you pour out faith, effort, gratitude, and love, the universe multiplies those energies and sends them back in ways that defy logic. It's like standing before a mirror, you can't frown at your reflection and expect it to smile back. Yet that's how many people live. They project doubt, negativity, and fear, then feel disappointed when life reflects the same energy. They don't realize that every thought they think, every word they speak, sends a message into the field of creation. That message gathers energy, momentum, and form, and eventually returns as experience. When you understand this, you stop fighting the world and start shaping it from within. Think of a person who wakes up each day saying, "Nothing ever works for me." Their mind, their energy, their tone, everything begins to align with that belief. They move through the day half-heartedly, expecting failure, and they get exactly what they expect. But another person wakes up saying, "Things are working in my favor," and even when challenges arise, they see opportunities within them. That mindset draws solutions, ideas, and people toward them. The mirror of life reflects back their expectation. It's not superstition, it's energy in motion. Dr. Wayne Dyer once said, "You'll see it when you believe it." Most people have that reversed. They wait to see it before they believe it, not realizing that their disbelief is the very thing keeping their blessing invisible. The universe is responsive, not reactive. It listens to your vibration, not your complaints. If you radiate gratitude, even when life feels incomplete, you begin to attract more reasons to be grateful. If you radiate frustration, even when surrounded by blessings, you'll find reasons to feel frustrated. The mirror never lies, it only reflects. There's a story of a woman who spent years saying, "I'll never find love, people always leave." She had been hurt, and her pain became her mantra. Every relationship she entered seemed to confirm her belief. It wasn't until a friend told her, "You're looking for love while expecting rejection," that she began to understand. She started to shift her energy, not pretending, but genuinely healing, learning to give love without fear. And slowly, her life changed. She met someone who stayed, not because she chased it, but because she had changed what she was sending out. It's the same with money, health, and purpose. If you speak about scarcity, you reinforce it. If you speak about abundance, you invite it. When you act from fear, you attract more situations that confirm that fear. When you act from confidence, even small steps open unexpected doors. The universe mirrors consistency, it matches frequency. So, when you complain about darkness, light doesn't appear. You must be the light first. Imagine tuning a radio. You can't listen to a jazz station while tuned to a rock frequency. Life works exactly the same way. If your inner frequency is worry, you can't receive peace. If it's resentment, you can't receive joy. You must tune yourself to the frequency of what you desire before you can experience it. That's why successful people practice gratitude before success, faith before results, and joy before evidence. They're not pretending, they're aligning. The truth is, the mirror of life is always waiting for you to make the first move. It cannot smile until you do. It cannot bless until you believe. It cannot multiply until you give. Whatever you want more of, you must first become the source of it. If you want respect, give it. If you want opportunity, create it for someone else. If you want love, let it flow through you. The reflection will always return, stronger, brighter, more powerful than you can imagine. Because the universe never fails to mirror the energy you choose to live from, and the moment you shift what you send out, your entire world begins to change in response. Millionaires don't just have money, they have habits that obey the law. Their wealth is not the beginning of their success, it's the result. Long before the bank accounts, the businesses, and the applause, they were cultivating invisible habits that no one saw. They planted seeds of discipline when life was uncertain. They invested time and focus when others wasted theirs on distractions. Every action they took aligned with the ancient law of cause and effect. They became rich in mindset long before they became rich in money. That's what most people miss. They look at the results, not the roots. They see the fruit but ignore the daily watering, pruning, and patience that came before it. Imagine a young man named Adam who dreamed of building a business. He had no money, no investors, and no connections. What he did have was a decision, that every day, he would do something, no matter how small, to move closer to his dream. He studied while others slept. He practiced communication until his voice no longer trembled. He saved instead of spending on temporary pleasure. He refused to complain. Years passed, and nothing seemed to work at first. Friends told him to quit, to be realistic. But he understood something deeper. He wasn't just working on his business, he was working on himself. And that's what the universe was responding to. Eventually, the law rewarded him, not suddenly, but inevitably. His business grew, not because of a miracle, but because he had become the kind of person who could sustain success. There's a saying, you will never rise higher than your habits. Millionaires know this truth intimately. They know that success doesn't happen in explosive moments, it's built in the quiet hours when no one is watching. They don't chase shortcuts, they master consistency. They don't waste time blaming others, they use that energy to build solutions. Their habits, reading, planning, waking early, thinking positively, managing emotions, become the causes that generate their success. When the results come, they aren't surprised. They expected them, because the law never fails to deliver what's been earned. Take someone like Oprah Winfrey, who rose from poverty to become one of the most influential women in the world. Her success wasn't built on luck, it was built on preparation, self-belief, and service. She once said, "The big secret in life is that there is no secret. Whatever your goal, you can get there if you're willing to work." That statement is the essence of this law. The cause, consistent, intentional work guided by faith, will always produce the effect. The universe doesn't care about where you start, it only cares about how you move. Think about the opposite scenario, people who desire success but ignore the causes. They want wealth but spend recklessly. They want respect but speak carelessly. They want opportunity but show up unprepared. They plant the wrong seeds and wonder why the harvest disappoints them. The law is not cruel, it's simply accurate. It mirrors the quality of your input with the quality of your output. That's why millionaires never waste their energy on what they can't control. They focus on causes. They focus on what they can plant today that will serve them tomorrow. The difference between an ordinary life and an extraordinary one lies in daily obedience to the law. The wealthy think in long-term patterns. They know that every decision compounds, just like interest in a bank account. Every hour of focus, every skill learned, every temptation resisted, it all builds momentum. They understand that the universe rewards persistence with opportunity and courage with breakthrough. Even when no one sees their effort, they keep going, because they know every invisible cause is forming a visible effect in time. Millionaires plant discipline when others plant excuses. They plant faith when others plant fear. They plant courage when others plant comfort. And when the season changes, the difference is undeniable. The law delivers abundance not because they asked for it, but because they earned it through alignment. Every habit they nurture becomes a magnet for prosperity. The lesson is simple yet eternal. Wealth is not a destination, it's a reflection. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. The moment you start thinking, acting, and living like someone who deserves abundance, the universe begins rearranging itself to meet you halfway. That's not magic, that's the oldest law in existence, returning to you exactly what you've been sending out all along. You already live under this law. The choice is whether it works for you or against you. It never stops moving, never pauses for anyone, never takes a day off. It's not something you can escape, it's something you can align with. Most people go through life unaware that every moment, every decision, and every reaction is feeding this law. They blame luck, fate, or timing, not realizing that their results are simply the reflection of the causes they've been creating. The law of cause and effect isn't something mystical, it's woven into the fabric of existence. Just as gravity doesn't care if you believe in it, this law doesn't care if you understand it. It works, faithfully, constantly, impartially. The only question is, are you using it consciously or letting it use you? Imagine two people standing side by side, starting from the same place. One believes that life is unfair and random, that things just happen. The other believes that every outcome can be traced back to a cause, that effort, mindset, and faith shape destiny. Over time, the first person becomes reactive, tossed around by circumstance, always waiting for something external to change. The second person becomes proactive, shaping their circumstances instead of being shaped by them. Decades later, one looks back and calls life cruel, the other looks back and calls it fair. The difference isn't luck, it's alignment. I once heard the story of a teacher who gave his students a single rule: every choice you make today creates your tomorrow. One boy ignored the advice, spending his days distracted, blaming others for his failures. Another took it seriously. He focused, worked hard, and stayed consistent. Years later, that same boy returned to thank the teacher, saying, "You were right, I didn't have to control the world, just my choices." The law had rewarded him not because he was favored, but because he had cooperated with it. The first boy, on the other hand, still blamed the system, the economy, and everyone around him. Both were under the same law, one used it consciously, the other unconsciously. You see this everywhere. The person who constantly complains about not getting opportunities rarely realizes that their negative energy drives opportunities away. The one who shows gratitude, even for the smallest things, draws more reasons to be grateful. The universe mirrors what you are, not what you say. If you walk around saying, "I can't," life agrees. If you say, "I can," it also agrees. The law responds faithfully, echoing your vibration without judgment. Think about a garden. Whether you plant roses or weeds, the soil doesn't discriminate. It gives back exactly what you put in. That's how the universe works. It's never against you, it simply grows what you plant. The weeds of doubt, fear, and procrastination choke your growth, while the seeds of courage, consistency, and kindness blossom into success. Most people want to harvest peace while planting chaos. They want abundance while watering fear. But the law cannot be tricked. What you nurture multiplies. The moment you understand this, life becomes empowering instead of frustrating. You realize you are never a victim of the law, only a participant. You begin to make choices with awareness. You think before you speak, act before you react, give before you ask. You start to see the link between your patterns and your results. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and begin asking, "What cause did I create?" That single shift turns you from powerless to powerful. Albert Einstein once said, "God doesn't play dice with the universe. Everything is connected. Every action has a ripple. Every word carries weight. Every thought sends energy into motion." When you understand that, you stop living randomly. You begin living deliberately. You wake up knowing that your actions today are building tomorrow's reality, that the universe is constantly rearranging itself around your energy. Whether the law works for you or against you depends entirely on what you give it to work with. If you align with it through focus, gratitude, and purpose, it becomes your greatest ally. If you resist it through blame, fear, and inaction, it becomes your toughest teacher. But either way, it's always working, quietly, patiently, perfectly. And once you learn to live in harmony with it, you realize something extraordinary: life has never been against you. It was always reflecting you. So here you are, standing at the doorway of change. Life has whispered to you through every setback, every delay, every sleepless night, "You are not meant to stay where you are. You are meant to rise, to align, to live with intention." The law that once felt like it worked against you has always been waiting for you to wake up, to choose, to plant differently. Because the truth is, nothing changes until you do. Nothing moves until you move. Every thought is a command. Every action is a seed. Every moment is a chance to rewrite your future. The power is not out there, it's in your hands, right now, in this very breath. Don't wait for the perfect time, because perfection never arrives. Don't wait for a sign, you are the sign. Life is responding to your energy this very second, reshaping itself around what you believe, what you speak, and what you dare to do. If you want love, become love. If you want peace, embody peace. If you want abundance, live as though it's already yours. You are not separate from the universe you seek to change. You are its voice, its movement, its mirror. Every time you choose faith over fear, gratitude over complaint, action over hesitation, you shift everything. You create ripples in a field that never forgets. So stop waiting. Start aligning. Stop doubting. Start declaring. Stop watching. Start becoming. Because the moment you do, the law begins to work for you, and the universe rushes to meet you halfway. And when that happens, you'll realize something profound: life was never testing you. It was teaching you how powerful you truly are. Your support means everything. If this resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe. And remember this: the universe doesn't respond to what you want, it responds to what you are. Thank you for being here. See you in the next one.